Hi, ladybugs. How we doing? Doing good? I hope so. We're going to hold Oliver today in his little elf outfit because now that it's after Thanksgiving, it's appropriate to dress them in their Christmas outfits. So we're going to hold Oliver. We're going to do our reading. And let's see, we are on chapter 18. 2 to go after this. We got 19 and 20. Okay, look at it. We're almost done. Just before, so when we left off, remember they were in the storm and they were needing to get back, and the grandfather had a spell, but they were okay. All right, so just before dawn, the storm blew itself out with one last angry roar. It started snowing. A frozen silence settled over the canebrake. Back in the thick timber of the river bottoms, the sharp snapping of frozen limbs could be heard. The tall stalks of wild cane looked exhausted from the hellish night. They were drooping and bending from the weight of the frozen sleet. I climbed out of the deep gully and listened for my dogs. I couldn't hear them. Just as I started back down the bank, I heard something. I listened. I heard the sound again. Papa was watching me. Can you hear the dogs? He asked. No, not the dogs, I said, but I can hear something else. What does it sound like? He asked. It's like someone whooping, I said. Papa and the judge hurried up the bank. We heard the sound again. It was coming from a different direction. The first time I heard it, I said, it was over that way, I said, pointing. It's the men from the camp, the judge said. They're searching for us. We started whooping. The searchers answered. Their voices came from all directions. The first one to reach us was Mr. Kyle. He looked haggard and tired and asked if everything was all right. Yes, we're all right, Papa said, but the old man has a bad ankle. It looks like we're going to have to carry him out. Your team broke loose and came back to camp about midnight, Mr. Kyle said. This really spooked us. We were sure something had happened. Something bad had happened. 25 of us have been searching since then. Several men climbed down the bank and went over to Grandpa. They looked at his ankle. One said, I don't think it's broken, but it sure is a bad sprain. You're in luck, another one said. We have the best doctors in the state of Texas in our camp. Dr. Charlie Latham. He'll have you fixed up in no time. Yes, said another. And if I know Charlie, he's probably got a small hospital with him. Back in the crowd, I heard another man say, you mean that Latham fellow who owns the black and tan hounds is a doctor? Sure is, another said. One of the best. Mr. Kyle asked where my dogs were. I told him they were treed somewhere. What do you mean, treed somewhere? He asked. Papa explained what happened. With a wide-eyed look on his face, he said, do you mean to tell me those hounds stayed with that tree in that blizzard? I nodded. Looking at me, he said, son, I hope they have that coon to treed because you need one to win the cup. Those 2 Walker hounds caught 3 before the storm came up. When it got all bad, all the hunters came in. The judge spoke up. I've always believed that those hounds knew that boy needed another coon to win, he said. If you fellas had seen some of the things those dogs have done, you'd believe it too. One hunter walked over to the broken snag. 3 out of 1 tree, he said. No wonder. Look here. The old snag was half full of leaves and grass. Why, it was a regular old den tree. Several of the men walked over. I heard one say, I've seen this happen before. Remember that big hunt in the Red River bottoms when the 2 little beagle hounds treed 4 coons in an old hollow snag? They won the championship too. I wasn't there, but I remember reading about it, one said. Say, I don't see Benson, Mr. Kyle said. The men started looking at each other. He was searching farther downriver than the rest of us, one fellow said. Maybe he didn't hear us shouting. Some of the men climbed out of the gully. They started whooping. From a distance, we heard an answering shout. He hears us, someone said. He's coming. Everyone looked relieved. Mr. Benson struck the washout a little way above us. He was breathing hard, as if he'd been running. He started talking as soon as he was within hearing distance. It scared me when I first saw them, he said. I didn't know what they were. They looked like white ghosts. I've never seen anything like it. A hunter grabbed Mr. Benson by the shoulders, shaking him. Get a hold of yourself, man, he said. What are you talking about? Mr. Benson took a deep breath to control himself and started again in a much calmer voice. "Those 2 hounds," he said. "I found them. They're frozen solid. They're nothing but white ice from the tips of their noses to the ends of their tails." Hearing Mr. Benson's words, I screamed and ran to my father. Everything started whirling around and around. I felt light as a feather. My knees buckled. I knew no more. Regaining consciousness, I opened my eyes and could dimly see the blurry images of the men around me. A hand was shaking me. I could hear my father's voice, but I couldn't understand his words. Little by little, the blackness faded away. My throat was dry, and I was terribly thirsty. I asked for some water. Mr. Benson came over. He said, "Son, I'm sorry, truly sorry. I didn't mean it that way. Your dogs are alive. I guess I was excited. I'm very sorry." I heard a deep voice say, "That's a hell of a thing to do. Come running in here saying dogs are frozen solid." Mr. Benson said, "I didn't mean it to sound that way," he said. "I'm sorry. What more do you want me to do?" A deep voice growled again. "I still think it was a hell of a thing for a man to do." Mr. Kyle took over. "Now let's not have any more of this," he said. "We have work to do. We've been standing here acting like a bunch of school kids. All the time that old man has been lying there suffering. A couple of you men cut 2 poles and make a stretcher to carry him." While the men were getting the poles, Papa heated the coonskins again and rewrapped Grandpa's foot. With belts and long leather laces from their boots, the hunters made a stretcher. Very gently they put Grandpa on it. Again, Mr. Kyle took command. "Part of us will start for the camp with him. The others will go for the dogs." "Here's the gun," Papa said. "I'll go with him." Looking at me, Mr. Kyle said, "Come on, son. I want to see your hounds." Mr. Benson led the way. As soon as we get out of this cane," he said, "we may be able to hear them. They have the coon treed in a big black gum tree. You're going to see a sight, and now I mean a sight. They've walked a ring around the tree, clear down through the ice and snow. You can see the bare ground." "I wonder why they did that," someone asked. "I don't know," Mr. Benson replied. "Unless they ran in a circle to keep from freezing to death or to keep the coon in the tree. I figured I knew why my dogs were covered with ice. The coon probably crossed the river, maybe several times. Old Dan and Little Ann would have followed him. They'd come out of the river with their coats dripping wet, and the freezing blast of the blizzard had done the rest." Nearing the tree, we stopped and stared. "Did you ever see anything like that?" Mr. Benson asked. "When I first saw them, I thought they were white wolves. My dogs hadn't seen us when we came up. They were trotting around and around. Just as Mr. Benson had said, we could see the path they'd worn down through the ice and snow till the black bare earth was visible. Like ghostly white shadows, around and around they trotted. In a low voice, someone said, "They know if they stop, they'll freeze to death." "It's unbelievable," said Mr. Kyle. "Come on, we must do something quick." With a choking sob, I ran for my dogs. On hearing our approach, they sat down and started bawling treed. I noticed their voices didn't have that solid ring. Their ice-covered tails made a rattling sound as they switched this way and that on the icy ground. A large fire was built. Standing my dogs close to the warm heat, the gentle hands of the hunters went to work. With handkerchiefs and scarves heated, steaming hot, little by little the ice thawed from their bodies. If they had ever lain down, someone said, they would have frozen to death. They knew it, another said. That's why they kept running in that circle. What I can't understand is why they stayed with the tree, Mr. Benson said. "I've seen hounds stay with a tree for a while, but not in a northern blizzard." "Men," said Mr. Kyle, "people here have been trying to understand dogs ever since the beginning of time. One never knows what they'll do. You can read every day where a dog saved the life of a drowning child or lay down his life for his master. Some people call this loyalty. I don't. I may be wrong, but I call it love, the deepest kind of love." After these words were spoken, a thoughtful silence settled over the men. The mood was broken by the deep growling voice I had heard back in the washout. "It's a shame that people all over the world can't have that kind of love in their hearts," he said. "There would be no wars, slaughter, or murder, no greed or selfishness. It would be the kind of world that God wants us to have. A wonderful world." After all the ice had thawed from my dogs and their coats were dried out, I could see that they were all right. I was happy again and felt good all over. One of the hunters said, "Do you think these hounds are thawed out enough to fight a coon?" "Sure, just run him out of that tree," I said. At the crack of a gun, the coon ran far out on a big limb and stopped. Again, the hunter sprinkled him with a bird shot. This time he jumped, hitting the ground. He crouched down. Old Dan made a lunge. Just as he reached him, the coon sprang straight up and came down on his head. Holding on with his claws, the coon sank his teeth into a long, tender ear. Old Dan was furious. He started turning in a circle, bawling with pain. Little Ann was trying to get a hold of the coon, but she couldn't. Because of his fast circling, Old Dan's feet flew out from under him and he fell. This gave Little Ann a chance. Darting in, her jaws closed on the back of the coon's neck, and I knew the fight was over. Arriving back at camp, I saw that all the tents had been taken down. A hunter said, "Everyone's in a hurry to get out of here before another blizzard sets in." Papa told me to take my dogs into the tent as Grandpa wanted to see them. I saw tears in Grandpa's eyes as he talked to them. His ankle wrapped in bandages, his foot and toes were swollen to twice their normal size. They turned a greenish-yellow color. Placing my hand on his foot, I could feel the feverish heat. Dr. Latham came over. "Are you ready to go now?" he asked. Snorting and growling, Grandpa said, "I told you I wasn't going anywhere until I see the gold cup handed to this boy." Turning to face the crowd, Dr. Latham said, "Men, let's get this over. I want to get this man to town. It's one of the meanest sprains I've ever seen and should be in a cast, but I don't have any plaster of Paris with me." The hunter who'd come by our tent collecting the jackpot money came up to me. Handing me the box, he said, "Here you are, son. There's over $300 in this box. It's all yours." Turning to the crowd, he said, "Fellas, I can always say this. On this hunt, I've seen two of the finest little coon hounds I ever hoped to see." There was a roar of approval from the crowd. Looking down, I saw the box was almost full of money. I was shaking all over. I tried to say thanks, but it was only a whisper. Turning, I handed the box to my father. As his rough old hand closed around it, I saw a strange look come over his face. He turned and looked at my dogs. Some of the men started shouting, "Here it is!" The crowd parted and a judge walked through. I saw the gleaming metal of the gold cup in his hand. After a short speech, he handed it to me, saying, "Son, this makes me very proud. It's a great honor to present you with this championship cup." The crowd exploded. The hunters' shouts were deafening. I don't know where the two silly old tears came from. They just squeezed their way out. I felt them as they rolled down my cheeks. One dropped on the smooth surface of the cup and the other splattered. I wiped the other one away with my sleeve. Turning to my dogs, I knelt down and showed the cup to them. Little Ann licked it. Old Dan sniffed it one time and then turned his head away. The judge said, "Son, there's a place on this cup to engrave the names of your dogs. I can take it into Oklahoma City and have it done, and you can have it done yourself. The engraving charge has already been paid by the association." Looking at the cup, it seemed that far down in the gleaming shadows I could see two wide blue eyes glued to a window pane. I knew that my little sister was watching the road and waiting for our return. Looking back at the judge, I said, "If you don't mind, I'll take it with me. My grandfather can send it in for me." Laughing, he said, "That's all right." He handed me a slip of paper and said, "This is the address where you should send it." Grandpa said, now that that's settled, I'm ready to go into town." Turning to Papa, he said, "You'll have to bring the buggy, and I wish you'd look after my stock. I know Grandma will want to go in with us, and there's no one to feed them. Tell Billy Lowry to come up and take care of the store. You'll find the keys in the usual place." "We'll take care of everything," Papa said. "Don't worry about a thing. I don't intend to stop until we get back, because it looks like we're in for some more bad weather." I went over and kissed Grandpa goodbye. He pinched my cheek and whispered, "We'll teach these city slickers that they can't come up and beat our dogs." I smiled. Grandpa was carried out and made comfortable in the back seat of Dr. Latham's car. I stood and watched as it wheezed and bounced its way out of sight. "Well, I'm harnessing the team, said Papa. "You take the tent down and pack our gear." On the back seat of the buggy, I made a bed out of our bedclothes. Down on the floorboards, I fixed a nice place for my dogs. All through the night, the creaking wheels of our buggy moved on. Several times I woke up. My father had wrapped a tarp around himself. Reaching down, I could feel my dogs. They were warm and comfortable. Early the next morning, we stopped for breakfast. While Papa tended the team, I turned my dogs loose and let them stretch. We made good time last night, Papa said. If everything goes right, we'll be home long before dark. Reaching Grandpa's store in the middle of the afternoon, Papa said, I'll put the team in the barn and feed the stock while you unload the buggy. Coming back from the barn, he said, in the morning, I'll go over and tell Billy Lowry to come up and open the store. Looking around, he said, it snowed more here than it did where we were hunting. Sorry, my nose is itching. Feeling big and important, I said, I don't like the looks of this weather. We'd better be scooting for home. Papa laughed. Sure, you're not in a hurry to get home to show off your gold cup, he asked. A smile was my only answer. 200 yards this side of our home, the road made a turn around a low foothill, shutting off our house from view. Papa said, you're going to see a scramble as soon as we round that bend. It was more of a stampede than a scramble. The little one came out first and all but tore the screen door from its hinges. The older girls passed her just beyond the gate. In her hurry, she slipped and fell down in the snow. She started crying. The older girls ran up, asking for the cup. Holding it high over my head, I said, now wait a minute, I've got another one for you two. I held the small silver cup out to them. While they were fighting over it, I ran to the little one. Picking her up, I brushed the snow from her long braided hair and tear-stained face. I told her there was no use to cry. I had brought the gold cup to her, and no one else was going to get it. Reaching for the cup, she wrapped her small arms around it. Squeezing it tight, she ran for the house to show it to Mama. Mama came out on the porch. She was just as excited as the girls were. She held out her arms. I ran to her. She hugged me and kissed me. It's good to have you home again, she said. Look what I have, Mama, the little one cried. It's all mine. She held the gold cup out in her two small hands. As Mama took the beautiful cup, she looked at me. She started to say something, but was interrupted by the cries from the other girls. We have one too, Mama, they cried. And it's just as pretty as that one. It's not either, the little one piped up in a defiant voice. It's not even as big as mine. 2 cups, Mama explained. Did you win 2? Yes, Mama, I said. Little Ann won that one all by herself. And the odd expression on my mother's face was wonderful to see. Holding a cup in each hand, she held them in front of her. 2, she said, a gold one and a silver one. Who would have ever thought anything so wonderful could happen to us? I'm so proud, so very proud. Handing the cups back to the girls, she walked over to Papa. After kissing him, she said, I just can't believe everything that has happened. I'm so glad you went along. Did you enjoy yourself? With a smile on his face, Papa almost shouted, enjoy myself? Why, I never had such a time in all my life. His voice trailed off in a low calm. That is, except for one thing. Grandpa's had a bad accident. Yes, I know, Mama said. One of Tom Logan's boys was at the store when they arrived. He came by and told us all about it. The doctor said it wasn't as bad as it looked, and he was pretty sure Grandpa would be home in a few days. I was happy to hear this news, and I could tell by the pleased look on my father's face he was glad to hear it too. On entering the house, Papa said, oh, I almost forgot. He handed the box of money to Mama. What's this? She asked. Oh, just a little gift from old Dan and little Ann, Papa said. Mama opened the box. I saw the color drain from her face. Her hand started trembling. Turning her back to us, she walked over and set it on the mantel. A peaceful silence settled over the room. I could hear the clock ticking away. The fire in the fireplace crackled and popped. Turning from the mantel, Mama looked straight at us. Her lips were tightly pursed together to keep them from quivering. Walking slowly to Papa, she buried her face in his chest, and I heard her say, thank God my prayers have been answered. There was a celebration in our home that night. To me, it was like a second Christmas. Mama opened a jar of huckleberries and made a large cobbler. Papa went to the smokehouse and came back with hickory-cured ham. We sat down to the feast of ham, huge plates of fried potatoes, ham gravy, hot cornbread, fresh butter, and wild bee honey. During the course of the meal, the entire story of the championship hunt was told, some by Papa, but mostly by me. Just when everything was so perfect and peaceful, An argument sprang up between the two oldest girls. It seemed they each wanted to claim the silver cup. Just when they were on the verge of sawing it in two, so each could have her allotted share, Papa settled the squabble by giving the oldest one a silver dollar. Once again, peace and harmony was restored. That night I was preparing for bed. A light flashed by my window. I was puzzled. I tiptoed over and peeked through the pane. It was Mama, carrying my lantern and two large plates heaped high with food. She was headed for the doghouse. Setting down the light on the ground in front of it, she called to my dogs. While they were eating, Mama did something I couldn't understand. She knelt down on her knees in prayer. After they'd eaten their food, Mama started petting them. I could hear her voice but couldn't make out her words. Whatever she was saying must have pleased them. Little Ann wriggled and twisted. Even old Dan wagged his long red tail, which was very unusual. Papa came out. I saw him put his arms around Mama. Side by side, they stood for several minutes looking at my dogs. When they turned to enter the house, I saw Mama dab her eyes with her apron. Lying in bed, staring into the darkness, I tried hard to figure out what the strange actions of my parents. Why had Mama knelt in prayer in front of my dogs? Why had she wept? I was running all of this around in my mind when I heard them talking. I know, said Papa, but I think there's a way. I'm going to have to talk with Grandpa, but I don't think that old foot of his is ever going to be the same again. He's going to need some help around the store. I knew they were talking about me, but I couldn't understand what they meant. Then I thought, why, that's it. They want me to help Grandpa. That'd be all right with me. I could still hunt every night. Feeling smart for figuring out their conversation, I turned over and fell asleep. All right, there we go. We're on chapter 19 on Tuesday, where the red fern grows. I think what they're talking about is moving to town. I know that earlier in the book, that's what Papa had said, that he eventually wanted to move the family to town. I think because of the money that Billy gave them, they might have the money to go to town. So maybe that's what they're talking about. They're talking about leaving him with Grandpa to help the grandpa and the family moving to town. Here's little Oliver. Doesn't he look cute as a button in his little elf outfit? Look at that face. So I got the silicone toddler that I had been working on for several years, like 3 years. And she has a lot of flaws, but I talked to my artist and she's going to be able to fix her. So I put a temporary set of eyes in her head just because she looked so creepy without them. Here, I'll show you guys what she looks like. Hold on. Let me get up. Hold on. Evie's wrapped up in my tube. Hold on. Sometimes that happens. There we go. Okay. Let me show you her, and then I will let you guys go. So she has some flaws, but like I said, I talked to my artist, and my artist can fix her, so it's not that big a deal. And I'm pleased. I love her. She's so big and chunky. All right, I'm going to set you guys in the bathroom here where there's some light. And then I'll grab her because she's in here in the bedroom. And then you guys can see her. Here, let me put you right here. Okay, I'll be right back. The only set of eyes I had were not the most realistic, but I didn't have any other eyes that would fit in her head. So here's her face. Doesn't she have the cutest face? And look at her little chubby hands. She's a big girl. She's the size of a toddler. Here, I'll show you. Oh, my dream baby. And she is heavy. She's going to work on my core, that's for sure. Look at this chunk monkey. Look at this little chunky girl. I am so stoked. I'm just so in love with her. I won't be able to send her to the artist for a couple of months yet, but very excited just to have her. I hold her sometimes. Look how big she is, how long she is. She's such a good girl. I'm so happy to have her. I've been working on her for a long time. So yeah. It was an arrangement I had with the sculptor, but it took a long time for her to sculpt her and make her and pour her and everything. So that's what the delay has been. But I'm very excited to have her. Just absolutely in love with her little face. Look at her little face. She'll look different with better eyes. And then in a couple months, I'll be able to send her to the artist. And then, yeah, it'll be probably about a year before she's totally finished. Because the artist is backed up. But it'll all be good. I'm excited. Anyway, guys, I'll talk to you later. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.